All I know is if I hear that damn ghost come through this right now while I'm sitting here and you're not. In the name of the Father.
Seriously.
How you feeling?
It's just so funny. I didn't expect at all.
We didn't even introduce this.
I'm trying to think of what to call it.
Shaking. What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of Everything's Perfect. Except everything's not perfect because our set is haunted.
Yeah, haunted AF.
AF. So let's just. This is a.
How did we get here today?
Yeah,
because this happened, just so you know, in the last couple hours. We were not going to talk about this, but we were like, well, the spirit world has another
they
plan.
Have spoken.
Yeah, literally.
So whenever we record an episode, we record, we're a few weeks ahead, and then our team edits and sends us the episode to review and make sure we're good with the way it's edited and everything. And so I was driving home from the nail salon and I was listening to the most recent edit that they sent. And while I was listening to it, we get to this one point and I'm like, there's this guy's voice under mine and Donald's voice. Mm-hmm. And actually, as it's happening, Donald and I are saying during the recording, we're like, what is that noise? Like some noise had come through our headset that was like very like loud, mm-hmm. like a loud hum or something. I remember it happening, but we were like, airplane something.
Yeah, but also what's interesting is you would not have heard an airplane that as loud as you hear it in the recording. You can hear that static kind of different. Mm-hmm. Where we're like, what is that? But
it would also be weird. It's not like we got some big boom mics around here that would pick up an airplane. Like mm-hmm. these mics would not pick up an airplane outside. Yeah. But at the moment, we just didn't know what we do. Something came through our headphone and we're like, what is that? And I even said to Donald, you'll see it. I was like, we have a ghost, and I'm joking. Okay, so fast forward, listening to the edit today, hear this guy's voice. I stopped the edit. Like I stop. I'm like, and I called Donald. I'm like, there's a ghost.
Yeah.
Wait for him to get to the house and we play it, but then I let it keep going. And right as I say, jokingly, we have a ghost, it laughs.
No joke.
It says, and now y'all are going to think we're crazy because we're going to edit the clip in here for you to listen to, but you can hear him say, subscribe, mm-hmm. Leave a comment. This is not us. Y'all, we are not fucking with you. We are not trying to get likes and comments and so it's a little like we're like, is this thing mocking us? But then when I say we have a ghost, it laughed. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a ghost. There's something happening, but
I was gonna say, should we play it in the microphone, even if they play over it so that it's the exact part?
Sure.
You guys, because the thing is too, I want you to know, I came fully prepared to be the level-headed, like, okay, that's not a ghost, but it is so weird that happened. And I mean, I'm still searching my mind for other explanations, but
good luck.
Yeah, like I'm so nervous. I have chewing gum in my mouth during the recording of a podcast. I was like, my mouth is dry because I'm scared. Okay, I don't want to. So here, I'll just play it so we can, yeah.
But this is
easy.
Okay, go.
We're just
like easy. There's nothing that stands out in my mind of like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. Maybe Cupcake and Daniel, those two would like bicker. Like, what is that noise?
I go plane, I guess.
Is that what it was?
And don't forget to leave a comment.
It must be.
Oh, there's a ghost. Turn it off. It literally makes me want to cry.
Crazy.
Like literally, I get so it literally makes me cry. I don't know what the cry is. I don't know if it's just an uncomfortable listening to it. It makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah. Me too. It reminds me.
So we're talking ghost stories because
yes.
I don't know about you, D, but I have a few of them.
Me too. And this reminds me of one so specific.
Tell me.
I lived in my hometown in Dayton, Ohio, and I was around 19 years old. And there used to be if anyone's listening from Dayton, there used to be a restaurant. When I worked there, it was called Rockwell's. They since have torn the building down. But working there, people would come in and be like, this place is haunted. Or people would be sitting and be like, do you see the ghosts over in the corner? Like random people would come in. And it was a very spooky building. Well, anyways, someone came in one time and said this building used to be where like the local mob would bring people and make them talk or like kill them, whatever. And I was like, okay.
People.
They said it used, yeah.
Sorry.
And they said used to be I think it was a hotel. It might have been an apartment building. I don't know. It was a restaurant. But they said the very top of this restaurant, if you get to it, still had some of the like rooms from when it was a hotel or apartment.
Okay.
And so anyways, they ended up closing the restaurant, and we were offered as employees, because there was another Rockwell's in Toledo, Ohio, to pack up the stuff they were going to take with them just as closing, so we didn't just lose our jobs on the spot. And so I was there, and I was like, the whole time I worked there, I was like, I really want to go up. I really want to go up and see if that space is still there. And so my friend, who was the manager, was like, I was driving, and I swear to you, which I can't say if this is true, but she said, I swear to you, as I was approaching, it was like the restaurant was lit up, and I felt like something said, let Donald go up there. So I was like, okay, girl, well, if they're telling you to, let me go. So we got this ladder,
Oh, you needed a ladder?
Let me tell you, you needed a ladder just to get where the drop ceiling was. That was painted all black. That was like over 10 feet high. And then we lifted the ceiling tile, and I looked, and there was a hanging like ladder that went up another potential 10 feet of dead space after this drop ceiling. And there was a little hole. And so we moved the ladder to where that was. My friends helped me. I pulled myself up. I climb up the ladder and up onto this. I'm climbing through a floor of what used to be like a hotel apartment space.
You're insane. First of all, I have so many questions. Where was the steps or the escalator or elevator? Like not escalator, but elevator.
It was like repurposed. It probably was filled with asbestos and like so.
But they just never demoed the top.
Exactly. It was just left there.
Oof.
But it looked like it had been like demolition started. Like you couldn't have lived in it or stayed in it the way it was.
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh, this is creepy. And I'm walking through because it's a big space up there. And I turn into one room, and right in front of me on the wall is it's this writing that says, you'll burn in hell for this. And I was like, oh my God, run. So I climbed down, and I was like, you guys have to hand me my flip phone, because it has a camera on it, and I got to take a picture of some of this stuff. This is crazy. So they gave me my phone, and I went back up and I started taking pictures, and there was like things that said like help and all kinds of stuff that was so freaky. Well, while I was up there, this is why it makes me think of this story. And I can't believe I'm telling it, because I know anyone listening
people
is just
think
gonna
we're
I'm
crazy.
crazy.
It's fine.
But it's real. And I was like, I felt like I could hear what I thought was maybe kids playing or something like that outside. Like I just heard distant noise, and I didn't really think about the fact of where I was or if it could have been something else. But it was really like just the stuff on the wall was the kind of thing that sort of gave you goosebumps, you know? So anyways, I just thought kids were playing in the distance. It's winter time, but I was like, maybe they're playing in the snow, whatever. I come down, and so we look at the pictures, and we're all sitting around doing something. And then at the same time, all of us heard this noise that sounded like talking, but it wasn't English words. We couldn't understand what was said, but it was like, like, and we were all like, and looked at each other, and we all ran out of that restaurant and never went back, and the building's torn down now. So my working theory is that ghosts found us here in Calabasas.
Perfect. Way to go, D.
No, but isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That space was up there. People literally all the time came in and was like, and I don't understand. I don't have any answers about it, but I believe in the mystery of like other, like, you know, ghosts or spirit worlds and stuff like that. And then when that happened, and as time goes, I was 19 years old. So as time goes by, you start to just think, you know, maybe, but today brings me back to that feeling I got when we listened to that little clip was the same I felt then. I was like, oh God, it's found me.
I knew you thought I was crazy when I called you. I was like, wait till you hear. You could think I'm crazy. And I didn't even hear the laughing point at that point.
Yeah, the laughing thing is what really just pushes it over the edge.
Yeah, because the first part, the like, subscribe, you're just like, okay, somehow it's distorting a voice or something of ours. But then I don't think we've ever blah-ha-ha'd into the camera or into these microphones.
Yeah.
And what miraculous timing. I say we have a ghost and it laughs.
I know. It really is
like
crazy.
It literally kind of makes me want to vomit a little bit.
And I do remember like hearing that noise, but in no way did we hear a voice. So it's so ironic that we would have heard it. And I still am open to an explanation, but...
Well, I messaged our producer and I was like, Dino, literally WTF. And I sent him the recording and he's like, wait, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm waiting for Dino to give us an I'm like, you better get in there and dissect this audio.
That's right.
Well, I have a few ghost stories too. I think my first one that I remember, I was in high school. And I was living with my mom and we had just moved to New Jersey. And my mom, being my mom, there was this house that was for sale. It was over 100 years old. It's actually considered a landmark where we lived in Cherry Hill. Like the house can't be torn down. So it was over 100 years old. It has like a little plaque on it, whatever. And apparently it had been owned by a doctor in the 1800s. And yes, people had passed away in there. And the realtor had told my mom that people had seen ghosts in there before. Whatever, fine, so be it.
That was my throat.
I know, but do you hear the humming in our... What?
It's got to be something outside. We're just freaked out.
Okay, I'm going to continue with my story. Okay. All I know is if there's some weird voice in this podcast is done.
Yeah.
Until we find a new...
Nice.
It's been real,
nice
guys.
talking with y'all.
You'll find me in church.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we move in. And my mom is like super into it. She always, was like, oh, cool. Like, I wonder if I'll see something. So one morning I'm asleep. This is my senior year of high school. I'm asleep. This is like right before school was getting out. It was a weekend, so I didn't have to be up early. But like warm, right? Like June. So like summer day, sun is coming in. And my bedroom was at the top of the stairs. It was like the first room on the left at the top of the stairs. And I'm asleep and all of a sudden I hear right next to my ear. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, God, this bitch. Like, I thought it was my mom being rude, trying to wake me up. Like, get up. It's the weekend. I need you to do something. And I, you're asleep, and I kind of open my eyes, and my bedroom door is shut, and nobody is by my bed. But so my bedroom door, there's my bedroom door, and right next to my bedroom door is a long dresser with a mirror on it, lengthwise. It's like a horizontal dresser. And I catch in the mirror that there is a guy standing in the corner behind me. And here's the funny thing. He's in blue jeans and like a blue baseball cap, and he doesn't have a shirt on. I flip over as fast as I can. There's nobody there. Mind you, there's nothing in that corner. There's no like coat racks, lamp. There's nothing there. It's an empty corner. I flip back. There's nothing there. I flip back over again to the mirror. So at this point I am wide fucking awake. He's still there. He is in the mirror with his arms crossed, leaning in the corner. I flip back. He's not there. I flip back again. He's gone. I am so scared at this point. I'm paralyzed. I can't yell for my mom. It's broad fucking daylight. Like the sun is coming in. It was probably like 7:30 in the morning. I pulled the covers over my head and cried and went back to sleep. I don't even know how I fell back asleep. And when I got up, I went downstairs and I told my mom about it. And she was like, yeah, well, it's haunted. And I'm like, well, it's time for me to move out. So that was my first one.
That's not the guy / I'm like, was his shirt off?
He was in good shape.
Was he cute?
I don't know because I couldn't see his face. He had a baseball cap pulled down. And the way he was standing in the corner was with his arms crossed and his head tilted down. So I didn't see a face.
That's wild.
But I was like, I was not asleep. the clapping. This was not like a dream within a dream. I was fully awake.
Yeah. Yeah. I had, we've talked about sleep paralysis, and it's something that not everyone experiences. But one moment I remember that I think was half that, but also just me seeing a ghost. It was really weird. I was like 16 and I was in my house in Ohio, in the bedroom that I pretty much had my whole life until I moved out. And I like woke up, and it was this as someone who gets sleep paralysis, I wasn't paralyzed in that moment. I could move, but I just kind of woke up and I was like, felt really spooky, like that cold, chilled on your spine feeling, like you could cut the cold air with a knife. And I always slept with my door open, and our house also was very old. So it was like, I think it was built in 1919, I think. So at this point it would have been the 90s. And I looked out in the hall, and this, what looked like my mom, but very lifeless, was kind of moving without taking steps, almost like it was just floating across the floor. And the way that my bedroom looked out, it's like to the right, I couldn't see my brother's door, but it was there. And then down the hall was where my parents' room was. And I was so confused because it looked like my mom. So I said, "Mom?" And I swear to you, this thing looked at me.
Oh, no.
And then I heard my mom from her room say, "Dawn?" And then the thing looked forward and went in my brother's room. And I was like,
Which brother?
But I knew they shared a room.
Oh, Joey and Kenny.
Yeah.
You're
Joey
like,
and
run,
Kenny.
boys.
So I knew that my dad didn't believe in that shit. Just like how he's the one over there right now being like, someone's playing a trick on them. I'm like, you never believe my ghost stories.
In the meantime, I'm sitting here sweating.
And so I went into my mom and dad's room, and I was like, "Mom, I need you." She was like, "Why?" And I didn't want my dad to be like, "Go back to bed," because I was terrified of what I just seen.
What time do you think this was?
This had to be like anywhere from midnight, maybe 1 a.m.
So middle of night.
Middle of the night. And everyone's asleep. And I was like, "I need you. I got sick, and I need your help cleaning it up." Because I knew my dad wouldn't get out of bed for that.
Smart.
But he would want her to get up. Yeah. And she got up, and I was like, "Okay, now that I got you out of there, girl, there is a ghost in this motherfucking house." I don't know who you gotta call, but we gotta do something. Yes. And my mom, like, we were so spiritual, and we were like, at that time, we believed in like demons and angels and like all this stuff. And so my mom started praying and got anointing oil out and did the whole thing, and she took it very seriously. But it was so scary. And I'm like, again, I said, I don't have any answers, but I totally believe in the mystery of it. That happened. Whatever I was seeing, that moment was so terrifying.
Yes.
And she was like, "And that thing looked like me?"
Bitch,
she was like, "I will cuss it out. It went in my kid's room."
Your mom's ready to fight a ghost.
Yeah, literally.
Well, okay. So first of all, when I tell you I'm sweating, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm so stressed out right now. So I do have a sleep paralysis one. Mm-hmm. So the first few years I was with Body, and we had the partner network, the coaches could request and pay for us trainers to go to their events. And so one of our higher up coaches she brought me to Florida to an event that she was hosting for her big team, and to do a workout and talk with them and stuff like that for the weekend. And they would they would pay for your plane ticket. They would put you up at the hotel. And so I go to the event, and the event was at her house. And after the event, she's driving me to the hotel. And she's like, "Oh, fun fact, it used to be an insane asylum." And I'm like,
"Okay,
oh,
fun."
Literally.
How'd you know that was my idea of fun?
I was like, okay. Already, I'm like, let me out.
Yeah.
I'm going to go stay at a Howard Johnson.
Right. Get me to the Hojos.
Seriously. She's like, "Yeah, it used to be an asylum, and they converted it into a hotel." So first of all, that's somebody's sick joke, as it is, to convert an insane asylum into a hotel. And it was like a nice one. It was a nice hotel. Mm-hmm. So I go to my room, fine, whatever. I kind of forget about it, go to bed, and I'm asleep. But in the middle of the night, I wake up because I cannot move. So probably sleep paralysis. And like you said, if somebody's never experienced it, they don't understand what it feels like. But maybe not. It must have been a solid 5 to 7 minutes that I was awake. And when I tell you it felt like a 500-pound person was sitting on me, holding me down, but it felt so dark and so evil. Like it was a female, and it was holding me down, like straddling me, holding my shoulders is how it felt. Okay. Again.
My God.
I could be wrong. But I was awake. I know that. Like I was fully awake because I started praying out loud, and I was like, in the name of Jesus Christ, you are not welcome here. In the name of Jesus Christ, you are not welcome here. And it finally like went away.
Yeah.
But that was a scary one.
There's nothing like, and I've had sleep paralysis a lot, but there is nothing as terrifying as like, you don't know if you're going to make it out.
Right.
like, ugh. And even trying to say Jesus.
Yeah.
Because everyone does. Like when you're paralyzed and there's evil spirits
You'll
holding
call
you down.
for Jesus.
Like, yes, Jesus help me.
So that was an intense one.
I had a minor thing like that once. I was very young. Like this is because I've been having ghost stories since I was a little kid, but I was laying in bed and I wasn't feeling that great, if I recall correctly. But I felt one of my pets, because we always had like dogs and cats, jump up onto my bed. But what I remember being weird is it felt like as if a person was pushing, like putting more weight than what one of them would have next to me. You know, if like someone sits on your bed, how your body would kind of lean towards it. And so I was like, So I reached my hand over to pet the animal. And my hand just goes down on the pressed down mattress, and then my mattress lifted up. And I was like, oh, what just happened? Literally. And I was like, no. I just told my mom about it. And my parents were like, pray about it. Like, you guys, I am telling you.
We need to move.
Yeah, there is stuff happening here. What another thing that happened in that house when I was a kid, whenever we fell asleep in my parents' house, in my parents' room, whenever I fell asleep in my mom and dad's room, this man in like a top hat would come in and kind of like be at the foot of the bed and kind of like look at me, and I'd kind of like see him. But it was almost this, I was so sleepy, I'd just like fall back asleep, and it didn't scare me so much. And I talked to my parents about him, but because I wasn't scared, they were like, okay, his imagination.
Right.
Well, one time my brother Kenny fell asleep. I think it was my brother Kenny fell asleep in one of my younger brothers fell asleep in their room. And the next morning we all homeschooled. So we were all having breakfast together, spending time. And anyways, he got up and he was like, Mom, the man in the hat didn't come see me last night. And I was like, you see him too? I was like, this is crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah. There's actually a special. We should watch it and like have a second part to this conversation.
Okay.
Sometime there's a special on Netflix. I think it's called Nightmare, and
sign me up.
It's about all these things. But what's really interesting is like people who experience sleep paralysis from different parts of the world see some of the same things. So make that make sense. If it's just something in your brain that like, then why are people reporting the same occurrences when it happens? Right.
And then people are going to go, well, they heard about one, and so they're saying they say the same thing. Mm-hmm. We all know energy doesn't go away. Totally.
I was literally just thinking the same thing.
Like, that's just laws of physics. It gets converted, but it doesn't disappear. So there is energy out there. And I'm like you, like, I believe that there is something. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you about one experience in just a second. Well, I'll tell you this one now so you can understand why I'm like, I fully believe that we can receive things from the other side. Yeah. So this one is the one that convinced me the absolute most. This was maybe 3 Christmases ago now. So I'm here at this house that I live in now, and it's like 7:00 at night, and I was putting up the Christmas tree. Like Dom always lets me do the hard part of, because we have a fake tree, fluffing the fake tree. Mm-hmm. So I had like stacked it and I'm fluffing it, and then Dom was going to help me decorate it. So again, this is 7:00 at night. This is not asleep at all. And we have a family friend named CJ. CJ passed, I want to say, I'm going to get the timing wrong when CJ passed, but it's probably been a good 7 or 8 years since CJ passed. She was my Aunt Val's best friend since they were kids. She was literally like a second mom to my cousins. She was at everything. She was just as much a part of our family as my Aunt Val was. Okay. She passed from diabetes way too young. Everybody loves CJ. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm fluffing this tree. Now, mind you, my Aunt Val, my cousin, and her kids, so my cousin Bianca, Sean, and Michael, they all live in Ohio. Love them to death, but I don't talk to them very often. Like, it's not like we text or I really know what's going on with them. I probably text them more now than I have in the last few years, but then, like, it wasn't somebody, like, I talked to on a regular basis. I hadn't talked to my cousin Bianca in well over a year. So I'm fluffing the tree, and as if she's standing behind me, I hear CJ. She had a very distinct voice. Like, CJ says, "Tell Bianca to take the job." And I'm in the room by myself. And I'm like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Like, and cause I'm like, it just came out of nowhere. There was no music played, nothing. Tell Bianca to take the job. So then I'm like, anything else? You know? And she said, keep doing what you're doing. Now, mind you, CJ passed away of diabetes. CJ was very overweight. Mm-hmm. I still to this day don't know if the second part was me here, like, but the first part, tell Bianca to take the job. I'm like, okay. I ignore it. Because I'm like, my family's going to think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't say anything to anybody. And then the next day, my dad is over. My dad still lived here at the time. Kaylee was here, Bobby was here, and we're playing cards and we're having dinner, and that's Buddy barking. And my dad's playing music on the TV, and a song comes on, and my dad goes, "You know whose favorite song this was? CJ's." And I was like, son of a bitch. Okay. And I literally said, I was like, okay, I got to tell you guys this. And they're like, what? And so I tell them the whole story, and my dad's like, that's crazy. So I'm like, I got to text Bianca and ask her, is she like applying for a new job or something? So actually I first text my Aunt Val, and I'm like, Auntie, is Bianca like looking at a new job or something? She's like, I don't know, honey, why? And I was like, you're going to think I'm crazy. And tell her. And so I text Bianca, and I'm like, Bianca, are you like applying for a new job? And she's like, well, the hospital I worked at offered me a new position, and I'm really torn about whether or not to take it. And I said, well, just so you know, CJ wants you to know to take the job. And she goes, well, I pray to her every night about it. Wow. And I said, well, she probably told me, because I had no idea. Like, I would have no idea. So to make sure you knew that message was real and received. Yeah. I got it.
Yeah. That gave me chills. And that's so cool.
She took the job, and she's had it ever since, and she loves the job. But that's why I'm like, that one event alone was like enough for me to be like, listen, I'm not saying I'm some medium. I don't have some way to make things happen, but that was CJ, and she said, tell Bianca to take the job. And that was a real thing. So
I love that story.
But I love that one because there was nothing scary about it. It just was like, whoa.
When my grandmother, who was literally one of my closest and best friends, I felt like when people talk about soulmates, I think of her as a soulmate. Like, what if, sometimes I wonder, and just for context for anyone listening, I grew up very like, you don't ask these kinds of questions. You live one life. When you die, you go to heaven or hell. You don't exist before that life. And that was my belief. And I'm not saying that, who knows?
Who knows? There's no way to know.
Yeah, exactly. All we can do is just follow our intuition and be as good a people in the moment that we can. And I am a person of faith, but my faith holds more question than it does certainties. So I wonder sometimes, like, I wonder if we do, just as energetic, like, beings, repeat lives. And I wonder if my grandmother and I have shared several lives, maybe playing different roles, because I just felt this connection with her.
Yeah.
And she passed away. It was actually really special because after filming 80 Day Obsession, my life, I was so excited. I'd never done anything like that. I'd never accomplished anything like that. I just moved to Los Angeles. The program just released in the beginning of 2018. People started connecting with me in a way that I was excited about. And my grandmother got to see that when she was dying. And she died of cancer in February of 2018. And since then, I have had probably between 5 to 8 moments where I am sure she visited me. And usually it is in a dream. But it's one thing to have a dream where you're like, that felt so real. And to literally like wake up literally smelling like you were just someplace and taste like it was literally such a full body experience. And I've called my mom and said, I really believe that I had conversation and a moment and like a time with grandma last night. And so I believe like I love having the conversation about these things because it's really interesting, and it's something that a lot of us don't talk about our experiences or questions because we're worried that people
will think we're crazy. Our subscriber following goes to nothing.
Yeah. So, but as long as I just hope if they send us to an insane asylum, it's one of the nice hotel ones.
Right. Okay, well, let me ask you this: have you ever gone to any kind of psychic?
Yes.
Me too. And I've had 2 that have been like crazy.
Oh, I'm excited to get into this. Okay.
Okay. So the first one was after I moved to Los Angeles. So when I first moved here, my brother Bobby lived here. My mom lived here. My mom lived like an hour away. So my mom came up to visit me, and we were going to go to Hollywood for dinner for the night. And we were like on the Sunset Strip. It was like such a big deal. And we went to dinner. I don't even remember where we were going to dinner, but across the street from the restaurant was a psychic. And we came out of the restaurant, and my mom was like, let's go get a reading. Now, mind you, right before we left for dinner, I had opened my email, and I had an email from my ex. This was like high school / college sweetheart. His name was Mike. You know, like just that high school person that like was in and out of my life constantly. My mom didn't really like him. And by the time I moved to California, like there was really not like any more talking to him. He was going down a bad path. He had a pretty bad addiction to drugs. And I was like, I don't want any part of this.
Yeah.
And I hadn't spoken to him in probably 6-7 months. And I opened my email, and I had an email from him. Like, I just, like, am I ever going to talk to you again? Da, 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 da. So I don't respond, but I showed my mom the email, and my mom's like, just delete it. Like, don't respond. Like, you don't need this in your life anymore. I'm like, okay, great. So we go to dinner, go across the street to the psychic. I go first. And she's doing my reading, and she's telling me like, I'm really concerned about like, am I going to meet the person I'm going to marry? And she's like, you're going to meet them in the next year. I met Kent in that next year.
Wow.
But as she's giving me my reading, she's like, somebody from your past is going to contact you soon. You know not to communicate with this person. And the email had just come in.
That's wild.
And I just looked at my mom, and my mom was like, what?
That's crazy.
So those were the 2, like, so that reading was a really like spot on reading. The other one I had was in New Orleans. 80-Day Obsession.
Really?
Remember, it was after the launch of 80-Day Obsession. We went to New Orleans for Summit.
Oh, yeah, I didn't go.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It wasn't after. It was right before. It was right before we filmed 80 Day. We went to New Orleans. Remember, my back was all messed up. My back and my hip were super messed up. Like before filming.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I'm barely functioning at Summit. Like in between any event I have, I'm at this acupuncturist trying to get like relief. But we had what are called handlers. So it's somebody basically just goes around with me anywhere I go, just to make sure like I've got somebody. If I'm trying to get from point A to point B, and somebody's trying to stop me for a photo, they could be like, she's in a hurry right now, like find her later kind of thing, so that I don't have to be not nice and tell people, oh, sorry, I can't take a photo right. So we're like out doing our thing, and we're walking around like one of the squares. And there's a fortune teller there, card reader. And I was like, oh, let's do it. You know, we're in New Orleans. And so we go up, there's like 7 of them, but we go up to this one woman's table, and she's like, okay, just put the money in the jar. I don't touch money. I'm like, okay, great. Put the money in the jar. She's like, shuffle the deck, da, 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 da. And as I'm shuffling the deck, shit starts blowing off of her table. And she's like holding it down with her hands. Like it's like this gust of wind came. But she goes, "Oh, baby girl, this is you." She's like, "Whoa, hold on. And she goes, "This is you. Look around. Nobody else's table is blowing." Swear to God, nobody else's stuff was moving. Shit is cards are blowing, things are blowing off her table. Everybody else's table is totally calm. It is just, and she's like, "Wow, okay." And she starts doing my reading, and she tells me that I have 7 guardian angels, and she says that one of them is a young man that passed too soon. Well, Mike died of a drug overdose a few years earlier.
Wow.
And I've had multiple people tell me that he is one of my guardian angels. Like, not his name, but I've had multiple readings where they've said a young man that has passed too soon is one of the people here. And it was like, "Oh, he wants you to know, like, that, you know, he's sorry," which she didn't know anything. I didn't tell, this woman does not know me. I didn't tell her anything.
Yeah.
So, like, for her to know that, like, because we had a little bit of a tumultuous thing, especially in college, because of the drugs and stuff like that. Like,
also, if someone knew you, they probably would have done low-hanging fruit, like your career is going to be
right.
You know.
Yeah, to try to go like, "Oh, somebody from the past," like, come on, like, what are the chances? Yeah, that was an interesting. She also told me I needed to have more sex.
Oh.
I was like, "Oh, don't throw me with a good time."
That makes me think about,
I was like, psychic said.
when someone, I forget what movie it was, but someone was like, "It's unisex," and they said, "Maybe you need sex."
It's a Friends episode.
Oh,
it's unisex, the bag.
Yeah.
And she's like, Rachel's telling Joey, and he goes, "Maybe you need sex. I had sex yesterday." She's
Yeah.
like, "Unisex, you and I sex," and he's like,
Yeah. So I had a really interesting psychic reading. My first kind of psychic reading was in Nashville, and it was tarot cards, and it was interesting, but and there were some things, but nothing even stands out in my memory to be like, this is wild. But before I moved to LA and before we did 80-Day Obsession, I just like was in a really cool place in life, and I had this desire to go. Actually, well, I heard a friend talk about this guy who does psychic astrology readings. So he does your chart and does a reading, but it's still like feels very psychic because it's so specific. And these are the things he told me. And this is, I knew you, but I didn't know about 80-Day Obsession.
"Okay."
I didn't know that I had a chance at all to ever film anything. And I liked the idea of moving to LA, but I didn't like the logistics around it. I didn't know why I would or how I would make it work. So anyways, I went to him, and some of the things he said that really stick out. It was a long reading, and I actually think that I still have the whole recording, but he said that my career was going to change, and sometime around the beginning of August, I was going to find myself in front of a camera working.
And that's when we started filming.
That's literally when we started filming, and I didn't even know, that wasn't a conversation we'd had. Also, he said, "You're going to be someplace really tropical, like with water, somewhere in the first, like end of June, beginning of July." And I was like, "LA?" Because I was going back and forth to teach dance. And he was like, "No, not LA." And I was like, well, maybe he's just mistaking, Malibu's beautiful. And I remember you were planning a trip to Mexico the Caribbean with Dominic, but my passport expired. And also I wasn't a part of that plan. And then you were like, "Do you guys want to come with Dominic and I to
you and my sister and my two nephews?"
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, my passport's expired. And we looked into because it was literally like 5 days from when you were going to leave. And there was no way for me, because it was over the 4th of July with the holiday and the weekend, there was no way to get an expedited passport in time for your trip. You didn't know about this psychic reading that this guy gave.
No.
I didn't tell you, and I honestly forgot all about it until you walked back in and said, "You don't need a passport to go to Hawaii." And we spent the 4th of July that year in Hawaii. And I was like, holy shit. He literally said in the beginning of July, I was going to be someplace tropical that I'd never been. And my arrogant ass was like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's talking about LA. And all of a sudden I'm standing there watching the sunset in Hawaii.
Yep.
Like, this is crazy. He also said I was going to meet like an influential woman to help with my career, which I thought was you. And he said, I don't think it's her. But it was going to be around that time. And while I was in Hawaii is when I got a text from a friend who connected me with Karina Smirnoff and started texting with Karina Smirnoff from Dancing with the Stars, which was out of the blue. I would have never thought that was going to happen. And so it was just so many things that he said. And I love that he gave dates.
Oh, who is he and can we go?
Yeah, honestly.
Is he in Nashville?
He is. And
let's go rent Joel's house from him. Airbnb it.
Oh, that would be so fun.
And we'll do a little.
Yeah. He said too, he was like, once I do my first session with you, he was like, you can call me, you can run something by me, let me know someone's like some of their stuff, and I'll put your charts together and let you know if it's good, bad, what to avoid, what situations. He said, because the thing is, he's like, you maybe can't change. He said the way I understood it is you can't change what's likely to happen because of the cosmos, but it's sort of like if you know it's going to rain, you'll have an umbrella.
Yeah.
And if you know it's going to be nice, then you plan your day for it. And so it changes your life in that way. But it was just so interesting.
I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. It was, things that he could have never known.
Yeah.
And one other crazy thing happened with me when I was in Nashville. Do you remember me giving like a news interview at your house because I had a friend who died and it was ruled a suicide, but they then thought it was murder? And I was warned by people not to give this interview because literally General Sessions judge there who's now in prison and some high up attorney was involved. And
why don't I remember this?
And so this is, again, I don't want, we could go on and on with the details of this story.
Oh my God,
but
this is like a whole
picked it up.
podcast.
And the reason that I was interviewed is because one of the reasons they ruled it as suicide is because to get into her apartment where she was found, you had to buzz with a key card, and there was no key card buzzing up to her. Her key card didn't buzz, and there was no key card buzzing up to her floor. But one time I went to hang out with her before she passed, and I got in the elevator. It's like someone was walking in the building, so I just walked in with them, so I didn't get buzzed in. Then I got on the elevator with someone, and I was pressing her floor, and they were like, "Oh, if she hasn't buzzed you in or you don't have a card, you can't go up." They said, "But once you're in, you can take the stair to any floor." So I took the stairs up to her floor, and she was like, "How did you get up here? That's wild." And so I was like, when they said that's one of the reasons they thought it was a suicide, I was like, well, hold up. If I accidentally got in there without buzzing a card, someone could plan that. So there's a lot about that story. But what's interesting is somebody who she was like had dated, who still had very strong feelings for her, was so upset by the details around her passing and came and talked to a medium here in LA. Wow. And I'd never met this person. I still don't even know their name, but they were taking notes of the medium. And so my ex in Nashville at the time called me and was like, this guy went and talked to a medium, and he called me because he asked me if I had heard of if it made sense to me. And the medium said that somebody was close by when she died. And the medium said, I see like a name with a D, but also maybe a stamp. And my name's Donald Stamper, obviously. Right. And so they were like, it's a person, we don't know, but he was close by when she died. And the other thing, the reason I was involved in the case is because I was one of the last people she called. And that night, I actually ended up in her apartment building randomly with some people that I connected with when I was out that night. And I was trying to get a hold of her, and she wasn't picking up. And so when she called me that night, she was like, let's just connect tomorrow. And then I was there, and I was like, girl, I'm in your building. Let's all hang out. Cause those are my party days. And she would, could have been up at 2 a.m. with a bottle of champagne. And, she wasn't responding, and she had passed, but so the medium was saying that I was close by. And I was like, that is so crazy that person didn't know my name. The medium, like, I'm not the one who went there, but they're still saying those details about his name starts with a D, but also there's like a stamp. I don't know if it's letter stamp or
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
We could go on.
Yeah, it's like so many unexplained things.
I know, because I have other ones where like I talked to one when I first moved out here, and my grandma, my dad's mom, I was super close with, and she had passed years earlier when Dom was like 2. But when I started talking to this medium, my grandma, she said, your grandmother's coming through, and she was describing her, and it was like spot on. And again, this is not like somebody who knew anything about me. And she's like, your grandma says you need to get in the kitchen more and cook. And I was like, I mean, if that ain't a Grandma Mary thing to say, I don't know what is. Now, I guess a lot of grandmas could say that, but she was saying specifically about when I was like 5 years old, she kept talking about that. And like, she's like, she's holding you too tight. I actually need her to let go of you a little bit. Like, she is so protective of you. Like, she's like, I see her holding your little 5-year-old hand, just so protective of you. And she needs to loosen her grip a little bit. And I was like, yeah, that's Grandma.
Wow.
And then when we moved into the Calabasas house, so the house I lived in before here. So Dom.
That house was haunted. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, so Dom.
Just kidding.
According to mediums, Dom is what they call a rainbow baby. So Dom actually is my rainbow baby the way people talk about it. Like, I had 2 miscarriages before Dom. So he is my rainbow baby in the fact that like
a blessing,
he's my blessing and my miracle. But I've talked to mediums and they've said, your son is a rainbow baby. This is his first time here. He's a new soul. And so he's going to have things that he struggles with a little bit more because he's brand new. And they're like, but he's still very connected to the other side. So there might be things that come up for him. And in that house, he would see things all the time. All the time. Like, I remember one time we were in my bedroom, middle of the day, and he's like, did you see the man in the suit? And he was like 8. He wasn't a baby. And I was like, what? And he's like, there's a man in the hall in a suit that just walked down the hall. And I was like, I would try to make him feel better. Like, that I didn't want to make him think he was crazy, but I also didn't want to be scared. So I was like, oh, Dom, like there's all these windows and the shadows, and it sometimes makes a shadow and shadows can shift. So it looks like somebody's moving, but there was a period. Buddy, my dog Buddy, big golden or golden doodle. Buddy always sleeps in my room, always. And there was a period for like a month where Buddy would leave my room and go sleep in Dom's door, in the door, like facing out. Yeah, unheard of for Buddy, but it was like every night for like a month. It was like he was protecting Dom's door, and he would go down there and he would sleep, and sometimes you would hear him go, "Rrr." And I was like, oh, this dog fucking sees something. So like, all right, you stay there and protect him. But, and I remember I saged the shit out of that house.
Yeah,
so I was like,
that's right.
We're going to have to sage this podcast
Holy
studio.
water.
Yeah, right?
Anointing oil.
I'm going to be coming in here like Madonna with all my rosaries on.
Yeah. Next time you see an episode on YouTube, we just have Bibles.
and crosses. Yeah.
No, it has been so fun actually just talking about those experiences.
Right?
In a weird way. It's just... It's felt really therapeutic because those are things you can't explain. So you just kind of keep going through life.
Also, just so you know, that humming was in our headphones for a solid 10 minutes and then it stopped. I'm just telling you, I heard it and it's not there anymore. Wow. So we'll hear if there's any voices.
A guest ghost host. Oh.
I do like that he was rooting for us with a subscribe.
Subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment.
Well, there you go, guys. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment.
That's right. Also, I would love to hear if you have any ghost stories or moments like that. I mean, we are your besties and we might be the best people to talk to about that because we are down for the story.
I'm down for the story.
Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you at everythingsperfectpodcast@gmail.com. And I can't wait to hear.
I know. Depending on what we get, we might have to do a part 2.
That's right.
All right, you guys. New episodes drop every week. We will see you next week on Everything's Perfect.
Bye. I'm just kidding.